certification, there's some people who are, once they're diving in, they're realizing things about their database that they never realized before. And that's a good thing. Here's what it can create. And you don't have to raise your hand, but this could be you, maybe it's not you. It could create some anxiety, like, oh, I didn't realize I didn't have 200. I didn't realize I was sourcing those wrong. I didn't realize source versus status and how I can use those appropriately. The beauty of this certification is we want to simplify it for you. So for example, we have an individual who I was just talking to earlier. She said, I think I might need to pull out of the certification part and kind of do this in more listen only mode, which you all are more than welcome to be here in listen only mode without getting the formal certification, because that comes with standards, right? But when I broke it down for her, she said, my focus this month is recruiting. So she's an operator of a team and her focus is recruiting. And I said, well, what if you pulled up your sphere in Brevity and you called your sphere and asked them if they were interested in a career in real estate? Or if they've ever thought of it or know someone. And that's what you focused on for your sphere connections. But while you were in there, right, while you were in that lead, could you tag them, local or not local, right? Could you tag them, renter or homeowner, right? Could you log the call? Could you maybe set up a market report for them? Could you do that while you're making those recruiting efforts? So everyone on this call has a different mission this month. And you'll see an example coming up where someone has a very amazing mission, and many of us do, on inviting Sphere to the Well series and to be a part of the Well series. So maybe that's the mission. And so Well series top of mind, you're on webinars, you're listening to podcasts, you're doing the homework. You're like, that's a lot of work. I can't take on the Sphere certification. The reality of it is they enhance each other. Right? By the end of the month of inviting people to the Well series and touching base with them, we could actually accomplish both. So it's not necessarily having to choose one or the other. So if you are feeling the anxiety for any reason, just reach out to me and we can problem solve that. John, what do we got today?
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. For those that have been here this whole time, we've really been focusing a lot on the activity of building this database. And I think some of the comments in the beginning, Stacy, you were not alone. A lot of us, as we've been going through this certification process, have just, the first is the awareness around the database. And so Stacy, you're probably right where you should be, given how this course was designed to focus really in that database, making sure that there's good information, good tagging. And now what we're seeing in terms of the certification course that we're bringing is now, once we've built the database, or we're continuing to build the database, what are those, how do I interact with it, right? What are the conversations I should be having? What are the tools, the technology pieces? So it's fun to watch this intentional practice of first starting with the database pieces, and now we're starting to get into some of the action pieces. So just my own personal aha, as we've been getting a lot of really great questions and awareness around the course and what you guys are all doing, which if we got 0 emails, 0 questions, 0 support tickets around database and tagging, that would tell you that maybe we're not playing all in. But the fact that we're getting those, I'm just super thankful and excited for everyone that is plugging in and doing this, because we are getting a lot of these inquiries. So thank you everyone for playing all in. As just a reminder, and I'm already seeing it in the chat for attendance. We really want to make sure that we are tracking this appropriately. So I'm seeing first name and last name in the chat. And if you are in a group where your screen, so we're going to be monitoring both the screen names, but also then cross-referencing that with you putting your attendance or your here first name, last name in the chat. So we super appreciate you guys doing that so that we could have accurate results. If you are in a one room, multiple people environment, make sure that you're definitely using that chat, because we won't be able to use your screen name. So, and if you're in listen only mode, which Jillian mentioned, there are actually a handful of people here that are here to learn and taking in whatever they can, but we're not able to get all of the participation or weren't able to or not willing to build that list of 200. So we welcome those in the listen only mode as well, and no real need for you to put your name in there, in the chat there for attendance. Julie, maybe you can kind of walk them through where we should be at this point, what we're focusing on.
Yeah, again, what's really neat is like if we're inviting Sphere to the Well series, then some of those 80 connections that you're seeing on number 1 would be to invite them to the Well series, for example. But we want to be on track for having reached out to 80 or more Sphere, and have 80 or more Sphere as a source in Brevity for those who are on the march to 200 by the end of the month. Continue adding the correct tags. Here's the thing we have to be very careful of, the pitfall, Jacqueline, right, is we can assume that someone still owns or lives here, but if we haven't called them or talked to them in a couple years, we don't just want to add the tag homeowner or renter, local or not local, if we haven't made recent contact and really found out where are they living and where are they at in their lives. So we want to avoid making the assumption, instead make the call and the connection. As part of the certifications, sending the screenshots of the weekly or monthly calendar time block to Crystal. This means your calendar time block should reoccur weekly or monthly, and it should show that it's reoccurring. But we just want to ensure that you've set up this bunker time and this safe and secure time to really focus on the sphere of influence. And then we talked about visiting 5 Sphere-owned businesses by the end of January, starting last week, and sending a screenshot if we have hit the 200 Sphere in Brevity to Crystal as well, to get sort of a stamp on that, and we get to move on in the certification process. That being said, we want to take some wins. So again, last week we started our mission of visiting Sphere-owned businesses locally. Who has a win from that they would like to share?
Catherine, or someone from that group.
Yeah, it's Amy. So I actually dropped off a business card to a friend of mine. They own a local automotive repair shop here. And after I dropped the card off, my friend of mine, who's the wife, actually sent me a text that they're looking to sell their current home because now they have 3 children, and asked me to put them on both a marketing report and a listing report to send them listings for a bigger home.
That is awesome.
That was kind of cool.
Oh, how fantastic. So that resulted in a potential piece of business.
Yeah, and they're lifetime friends, like our kids are the same age. So it was really kind of nice that I already had a rapport with them, and without me having to push too hard or, basically ask too much of them, they were already like, this is something we are, and of course we want to support you, and thank you for dropping off the card. So it was kind of nice to see like that very quick gratification, when this entire time I've been kind of wondering like when I was going to start seeing some sort of turnover. And I did last week. So it was really kind of reassuring that I feel like I'm doing all the right things and it's just going to happen in time.
Wow, that was a really good share. Thank you. Chris, what about you?
Me, Chris?
Yes.
No. Just how being reminded that it's not just a simple task, blocking time in the morning, it's doing it throughout your day. I rejoined Lifetime Fitness since COVID's gone, and while in there I ran into a guy that I've known for quite a while. We used to cycle together, that kind of stuff, and realized he's not in the database. So called him, got him in there, got him set up on market reports, and he's going to be on a cadence of calling every 3 months if I don't see him in between times.
I love that, Chris. That's a question that I would just suggest everybody internalize, is that as you're out there in the community, as you're re-engaging or as you're engaged, ask yourself, is this person in my database? And then boom, right there, that's going to help us then look, first of all. Secondly, then inspect what we would expect out of our database and then add it in. So what a great little question to ask ourselves as we're meeting people. Yeah. Love that, Chris.
Hi, Claire.
Norma?
Or Norma, yeah.
Yeah, so mine was more from visiting with a Sphere-owned business, and it's a moving company that I met with, and it not necessarily gave me an appointment, though we made plans to maybe co-brand on some door hangers and go door knocking together. And so I felt was a great leeway into that, is by meeting with him, and then when we made a plan together to see how we can help each other's businesses.
The reciprocation aspect, it's really great. And Claire, what about you?
Mine's from pushing through with the certification. I have had a crazy couple of weeks. I think everybody has, right? Oh, all in our own way. I had some catching up to do. I told myself yesterday if I was going to quit that I had to personally call Jolene and tell her. And I just was not willing to do that. So I got almost everything done. I'm almost all caught up. And I did go out yesterday and drop off business cards, but I missed the last one. So at lunch today, I took them to a local restaurant. I walked in, 6 nurses that I used to work with at the hospital were sitting at a table. 2 of them shot me their phone numbers and told me to get all their information later. So I've got 6 more people whose information I haven't had in a long time to add back to my sphere. And that's for like, I'm just not willing to give up. I said earlier in the chat, if not now, when? Like, we can push off our sphere as much as we want to, but if not now, when? So like, it's up to me to follow through on what I said. And I'm also not willing to call you and tell you I quit. So
I wouldn't expect that either, Claire. You're not a quitter. Michael, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I want to brag on one of the agents on our team, Anthony Romano. He's part of our organization, and he's a heavy expired FSBO guy, really expired terminated guy. And we started this, I asked him to join us in the sphere certification. So he's been working on his sphere, talking to people, and he set an appointment with his aunt. And that'll be the second aunt that's now looking to buy a home through him. And he's younger in age, not necessarily younger in experience, but younger in age. And so he's at that point where getting his sphere to see him as a professional is something he's doing. And so it's super cool to start seeing that happen for him. So I wanted to brag on him. I think he's on here. So I just wanted to brag on him and the great job he's been doing the last week or 2.
That's really great. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for doing that. And if anyone feels inspired and excited to go back and kind of like rework their sphere and think about how this is not only benefiting their businesses, but maybe even your interpersonal relationships and how that brings joy to us as human beings, like just type in the chat if any of those shares were beneficial to you. Just put yes or thank you, because these are people who are getting out of their comfort zone and then being willing to share in this group, which is very transparent. And we just appreciate you for those shares, because those shares keep us going, they keep us excited, and they show us what's possible. So in the last call, John, we did miss you, John, on the last call. We talked about the business pop by script. So this is a little bit late. We did give the script verbally for what you can say when you're popping by a business and making that connection. But now it's in writing. And Melina, I think you're on the call. You were the person who gave us a really good script, and we sort of put that into words on paper. It's here. We'll share it after the call in the recap email. Crystal will make sure that this is in the recap email. So if you haven't quite hit your 5 businesses yet for the certification, this will be available to you to be able to take with you. And it's a really great framework, right? It's a framework. It's not something that you want to read verbatim when you're walking into a business, of course, but it gives us an idea of how we can best connect with them.
Yeah, and that was actually just a share toward the end, and that was awesome. So I just want to highly encourage that. And then somebody, I think Todd put in that FROG acronym that was also discussed there. So we want to make sure that we're encouraging the participation. You guys have time to share at the end of today's call as well. So thank you for those shares, and we'll make sure that we get to that section at the end today. So Jolene, you want to take us through some additional questions that we might be asking our sphere, as now we're jumping into this more of the activity conversation and generating from the sphere?
Yeah, and so on the last call, we talked about the Ford method, the FROG method. We talked about building a rapport with Joel Rico. So we covered a lot of like the interpersonal skills that were really a deep dive into those things. So I hope that was beneficial. I know it was for me. Today, we wanted to provide some questions you can ask your sphere that will engage a real estate related conversation. And so I'm going to just pick a few people that I see on the screen. Robert Thompson, would you read number 1? And then Andrea next, or someone from Andrea's team.
Love to. How is your business and what can we do to reciprocate that business?
Of
There's
that.
one thing I'm going to point out on that one, Jolene, is the when just remember last week we were talking about the being genuine with this group of people and not taking that question and running straight through it. How's your business and what can we do to reciprocate? It's how's your business? How are things? What's going on in your world? Conversation, call, response. And then at that point, we would then go into this reciprocate the business conversation. Fair? So I just wanted to make sure that we're putting a nice dramatic pause, letting them respond. Let's reach out organically and not just jump into the what's in it for us.
Love that. Good clarification too. Andrea.
Do you own your home or do you rent?
Did you know that that question is the question that I've seen Ben Kinney ask the most in his connections? Like he'll ask it at the grocery store. He'll ask it to people when he's in the community. Like this is truly the most common question that he asks. He's just not afraid to ask it. And we'll talk about how that's valuable here in a second too, but I just wanted to share that fun fact. Tim Counts, would you share the next one, number 3?
Yes, ma'am. Have you thought about increasing your net worth by a few million by building wealth through real estate?
Would you say no to that, Tim?
No, I would not.
Or maybe you hadn't thought about it, but of course would be interested. So you could rephrase that and say, would you be interested in increasing your net worth by a few million by building wealth through real estate? Yeah, John, what about the next few?
So we added this one in a little bit late. I was listening to a podcast and they said that 80% of Americans have a desire to own a short-term rental, which is crazy. I mean, right, the Airbnb boom. And so even though the 80% of Americans don't own a home, they're interested in owning an Airbnb or short-term rental. So we felt that it would be good to ask some questions around that. Let's see here. I can, Norma, would you be willing to read number 4 for us?
5.
Oh, is it number 5? Yes.
Hey, have you
Oh.
ever taken a simple money management and money mindset workshop?
You could simplify that too, Norma. You could say, have you taken a simple money management workshop or a money mindset workshop? And this is a lead in to the Wealth series, isn't it? Most people have not. And they also think sometimes that when you use the word wealth, that they have to have money in order to be able to be a part of the workshop. So this sort of eliminates this in that question, right? And then we can share more about the Wealth series. And we have a couple pieces on that in a second. What updates or repairs might you do to your home next? This is an amazing real estate engagement conversation. We just want to find out, like, what do they love about their home? What might they change? And through that process, discover where they're at. And that leads into, if you could live anywhere, where would you live? And John, I think you asked me this question when we were preparing for today. And I said, I would live on the lake and I would have a house with a really big walk-in closet because my closet's tiny. I'm like, I already know. But that's exactly where I would move to, right? And many of our spheres say, you know, I love my home. I love living where I live. And this is a question that gets them to think, or maybe share something with you that they haven't shared before. And you can uncover some underlying desires there that you could potentially help move forward for them. Seth, I see you on the call. This is a message you've sent to me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, text message, and email. I'm probably missing a few. So you're sharing this Wealth series invite to your sphere. Thank you for letting me screenshot it. Would you share with us, Seth, how the responses have been from this social media outreach?
Yeah, it's been good. I jumped into the Wealth series and just kind of wanted to get Missy got it too. Sorry if anyone else got it. So I had someone on my team helping, Frank, he's my ISA, and we went through, and we're, you know, in real estate, you don't always have time to like make everything perfect. You just got to move forward and get the message out. And so we kind of did our best. Jason got it too, to focus on my sphere and past clients and just people in my farm area. And there might have been some agents mixed in there too, kind of by mistake, because, you know, I didn't spend days filtering that out. But we started off by sending out the emails to everybody. And then, you know, we ended up getting about 200 responses when it was all said and done. But a lot of that was, the responses to the email was pretty minimal, you know, and the responses to the texts were like maybe 10% of people responded to that, because we sent out about, I don't know, well, it was more than 10%, but we sent out about 1,200, 1,300 messages via text primarily, and then a few on social, and then we stopped last week. But so I was pretty happy with the outcome. Next time, you know, you can't like text people every time, obviously. So next time, if I do the Wealth Series again later this year or next year or whatever, based on how things go, I'm going to do a phone call and start doing it like a month or two in advance and give myself enough time to do it, and then just follow up with the text messages. Can I give you just a couple more things real quick? I think the best responses that I got was on Bethany's sheet, where it had two different texts where you kind of like did one and then did another one after that. Like, hey, it was like the first one was just kind of friendly with a question like, hey, are you interested? And then the second one would provide them the link if they're interested. For the sake of time, towards the end, I combined them and just tried to get through more that way. So anyway, questions? Was that helpful?
I think Paul has a question.
Okay.
Hey, yeah, I do.
Hey, Paul.
Hi there. General question too. Like, you know, I've been thinking about this Wealth Series thing, and I should have been inviting people, you know, like a month ago. I think a thing did go out, but anyways, the answer I know is no. It's not too late to send this invite out. But what are people's thoughts around that? Like, you know, I'm like, am I going to say, oh, I'm sorry, it's already, you know, in whatever session 5. I should have sent it this year before. Any verbiage around that, or just send it and forget it because you can take it all year anyways, or any thoughts on that?
Seth, what would you recommend at this point?
Well, for me, they've released 5 episodes, but there's 16 of them. There's still tons. And to win the contest, if that's what somebody wants to do, all you have to do is listen to 16 podcasts, answer the question at the end, and do a quiz at the very end on the live Zoom. So there's plenty of time. It's all self-paced. So, you know, they can do it on their own pace. And so some people are super engaged. Some people are just doing it on their own. But you might as well just get it out there. You're not going to lose anything by just moving forward on it. And then next time it happens, you can do even better, you know? So I'd say just do it.
Round 1 is always learning, right? Round 2 is where we get to master it. I think that was really good advice, Seth. Thank you so much for the share there and letting us put you on the spot. Jason?
I was just going to add to that and say that, you know, yeah, if you want to win the prize money, you know, you want to get it out now, or if you want people to have a chance for that. But I think, you know, what Bethany does with this is she runs it in cycles. You know, I think she runs it once or twice a year. And so you can do this anytime you want to do this for your business, for your sphere. It doesn't have to be when Ben is releasing new episodes. That makes sense.
Yeah, I would save all of the workbooks and resources. I've got a little folder going, and then when you do send it, Jason, out like in another month or so, then you are the one that can help deliver the content and help that group out. So that's really good. Somebody had asked yesterday about, hey, I have a lot of social media contacts and I can direct message them, but I am struggling with getting the rest of their contact information. Seth's example here is perfect for that, because if you were to click on that little bit.ly link, that actually goes to a contact form for Seth, and he's actually capturing phone and email. And so that's a really easy way for us to exchange value for contact information in a social media setting. So for whoever that was, or if for any of us that are on here that are struggling with a lot of social media contact, but not necessarily having the email or the phone number. This is like the perfect touch. And that's why we really wanted to highlight just this one simple activity. And then keep in mind, though, the value, exchanging value for contact information, especially with Sphere, whatever that item of value is.
All right, we're going to switch gears, as Chris Suarez would say, for just a moment here and watch a portion of a video. Just give me a second here. I realized on the last call, John, that I need some practice working the Zoom a little better. So we'll get there. So thanks for your patience with me.
ThroatScope has a new app, so you can take a photo of the
So just
ThroatScope
one
app.
moment here. So John, talk about a little bit about what we're going to show on the
Yeah.
video.
I'll set the stage up a little bit here. Jolene and I, as we were, talking through some of the ahas from last week in terms of, and thank you guys for your feedback to let us know what's really resonating. But a lot of the resonating comments were around this, like, holy cow, I've been approaching my Sphere incorrectly this whole time, or I've been going right into ask them for the business, or it's been incongruent with how I should be treating this group or this source. And Jolene and I, Jolene, you had mentioned the comment about us being the product. And then that kind of led us down this path here, which was, has anybody watched Shark Tank or understand the show in Shark Tank? Like, when we look at the pitches that are in Shark Tank, we should really look at our Sphere. And so we wanted to provide an example of a Shark Tank pitch here with something that was a really, it's really where that passion meets purpose, right? Which is also sometimes called our big why. But when we have a passion for what we do and we can internalize what we actually sell, our product, which is the dream of home ownership, like
the model home condo at my complex is up for sale.
Somebody had a question.
Talking to
So
this.
when we can internalize what we actually sell, our product is a really, really amazing one. And then that should help us with then figuring out that passion and how we can deliver that to our.
What'd y'all think? What came to your mind as you were watching that video? Great accents, of course, right? Ashley?
Ashley.
I think you're on mute, or it doesn't look like you're on mute. We just can't hear you. I think your audio is not connected, Ashley, but it when you get connected, let us know. No, unfortunately, it's not working. There you are.
Sorry.
No, you're good now. We can hear you.
Okay, good. I can hear you too. Okay. She, of course, did her presentation, but towards the end there, I noticed how she tried to include all of the sharks and what type of business or type of benefit that they could bring to the table, so that it included them in the whole presentation, not just telling them about it.
Absolutely. I love that. And Rebecca nailed it too. I think going along those same lines is that these people did their research and understand their audience, right? So their pitch can be a little bit more about them. Catherine and Amy, or Catherine or Amy?
Yeah, Catherine this time. That rescue kit is very much what we want our team to be, and that's kind of what Place is about too, is being a resource for everybody in our sphere, even when they don't want to buy or sell. If they need someone, an exterminator or a roofer or a good property manager, like, we have that network of people, and we've got everything they might need in one neatly packaged, very professional, accessible offering kit. And that's how we want to present ourselves to our people.
You absolutely nailed it. And that was the point of that video, right? And notice they were pushing on a pain point. They were like, here's the pain point, right? If there's someone that's hurt and you're not next door to a hospital, here's how we can help. And this is what our product will do. And here's how we're passionate about it. And this is the type of people and persons that we are, right? They were presenting their product and who they were, but it was based on a pain point and a need. And so for us, one of the things we look at in our certification, right, is we look at this, I'll share my screen again. We look at this tagging system that we're all doing, and it might feel a little bit administrative, and in part it is a little administrative, right? But the power of this is if we know whether or not someone owns a home or rents, or is local or not local, but primarily homeowner or renter, can we not better help them with their pain point? So what's their pain point if they're a renter? Someone shout it out.
Paying someone else's mortgage.
Exactly right.
I rent.
Yep.
I'm
And then
Feeling
what-
like they're throwing money away.
100% interest rate on their monthly payment.
Yeah,
Rent increases.
Instability.
Uncertainty with the payment.
so good. Okay, what's the pain point if you're a homeowner? Shout it out.
You're responsible.
Homeowner
for
maintenance.
Maintenance,
Repairs.
repair,
Taxes.
taxes.
One
HOA.
bathroom and 4 kids.
Stairs.
Rucker, what did you say?
I said an HOA.
Could be, yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling that.
Need to downsize.
Yeah. There's a
And
few different pain points there. So if we understand which one they are and we tag it appropriately, can we not better service their pain point? Right? Can we not share with them the product that we offer? Right? Because otherwise we might be trying to service the wrong pain point if we don't understand these things first. And I think it was Amy who talked about this. These are the types of products that we offer and who we are. We want to reframe who we are to our sphere. And we can do that by helping them better understand our product, right? We are more than someone to help buy or sell. We are the contact for all home related needs, including but not limited to refinancing, repair, resale, which is a play on selling, relocation, which is a play on buying, remodeling, and then a rental or buying an investment. Those are just a few things, right? I bet you have some that you could add to this list. If you do, pop it in the chat. There's an R theme going on for the value there, but reframing who we are. And we're going to be able to do that when we better understand who they are by asking the questions that we just went through in those examples and then tagging appropriately.
Yeah,
John,
I'll add
when
just
we understand who they are, what do we do next?
Well, this is actually this slide here goes into, it doesn't matter if you're talking to the homeowner tag or if you're talking to the renter tag, actually. Does this page look familiar to everyone? Has everyone seen it? If you have not seen it, please watch some of the buyer guide videos that we've done where Ben and Chris have taken them through our buyer guide. But this is a page right out of our buyer guide. And this is, I'll rewind actually, when Jolene and I and Chris and Ben were all meeting, gosh, a couple years ago now. And we were coming through and taking like the best of the experience presentations and the best of the Ben Kinney team's presentations. This page was one that stood out to me. And I think I asked Ben, I said, well, you only use this page for a first-time home buyer, right? To try to explain this. And he said, actually, no, John, I run this page through anybody, even if they've bought or sold a home. And here's why. And it's because people may have heard this before, but people don't necessarily understand how this comes to fruition or why there's such a stark difference between this 5,000 and 230,000 numbers. So this gives us an opportunity, especially when reaching out to our sphere, of just simply asking a question of them, which could be, hey, have you ever heard that the average net worth of a renter is different than a homeowner? And it's quite frankly, staggering in terms of the differences, right? And then the follow-up question, well, do you know how that happens? Do you know why that is? And honestly, 99% of the time I get the response of, no, actually, I don't really understand the differences. And that allows us to then go into the next page of the consultation, which is literally the very next page of the buyer guide. And so who has seen this? I'm seeing a lot of people shaking their head already. Yes, that they're familiar. Awesome. Good. This is good. We're in the right place. Don't skip this page when you're going through and having a conversation with your sphere, or if it's a buyer consultation. Don't skip this page. And actually was wondering if you guys would be okay if I just kind of maybe role play this this conversation, and if there's anybody that might want to raise their hand and be the potential buyer here, so you guys don't have to have the difficult job of being the agent. So Claire, awesome, thank you. All right, Claire. So I'm going to be mostly on script, but I'm also going to probably break away with some of the resources that we are going to need. Before we start in just now, for the whole audience, I want to make sure that you guys all have the Place Mortgage Calculator app downloaded on your phone. And I know a lot of us do, but if you don't, or if that's news to you, or if you might be newer to the organization, please go into the App Store or Google Play Store, wherever you find your apps, and type in Place Mortgage Calculator, and you will find an amazing tool to share with Sphere and to use on your buyer presentations relating to what we're going to be talking about next. So, but I'm going to, oh, thank you, Crystal. She even put it in the chat there for you just to click on there. Okay, so Claire, I'm going to take us through this conversation on how we might take a buyer through this page, or through our Sphere through this page, right? So I've already talked to them a little bit about the differences between an average net worth of a renter and a homeowner. And so Claire, I appreciate you taking some time with me. And there are three main financial benefits that comes along with homeownership. Claire, are you familiar with the three financial benefits associated with homeownership?
Only really owning a home.
Just owning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd like to talk to you through these three financial benefits that comes with homeownership. The first one, Claire, is something that we call appreciation. Now, the real estate market has appreciated on average of about 4% annually for the past 30 years. So take the highs and the lows out of it, just a straight line would show you about 4% appreciation year over year. Now, this is a national statistic, Claire. In our area, and some areas across the country, it might be higher or lower, but for the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to just use a 4% appreciation, and I'll break script right now. What we would encourage all of you to do is to, if you're in a live environment, have them start filling out some of this information on a piece of paper so that they're following along with you. Or if you've given them the buyer consultation guide, maybe you just have them fill that out right here on this piece of paper. Or as prep for your buyer consultation, maybe I print out a piece of paper here if I don't want to use my guide, and I just give them the one-page printout so that they can follow along. So I'm going to pretend like I've done all of that and Claire's following along with me. So Claire, what I'd like you to do is just write down 4% in that top box where it says, in that second box down there, which is average appreciation rate. And going on the phone with Claire, I've already established a value of around $500,000. So this is the environment I'm in. We're going to do a projected home price of $500,000 and have Claire fill in the appreciation rate. Now, so Claire, in just the first year alone, if you took the purchase price of $500,000 and added the appreciation, you're going to get an annual appreciation number of $20,000. So I want you to go ahead and write in that bottom box, $20,000 down there in just 1 year alone.
That's a lot.
Yeah, pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
So Claire, the second financial benefit that we get through homeownership is something we call principal reduction. I like to call it a forced savings account, really, because now a certain percentage of your mortgage payment will be contributed to the principal balance of your loan, right? So each month, as you're making your payment to the bank, right, they're going to be taking pieces of that and actually applying it towards that original loan balance that you got. So, Claire, in the scenario that we worked up here, you said you were going to be putting down 20%. So your mortgage amount in this scenario would be $400,000. So I'm going to have you write down the mortgage amount of $400,000 at the top. And we're going to look at today's interest rate. Just talk to my lender and it's right around 6.5%. So I'm going to have you put 6.5% in that second box down there. And the typical loan term is going to be for 30 years under this scenario. So just if you could fill in those blanks. And so when I run through the Place tool there, it's going to tell me quickly what the principal year paid down in year one. And so Claire, in that bottom box, those principal payments are going to equal around $4,471 that you're actually going to be paying down in terms of your loan in just that first year automatically without you even thinking about it. So if you could write down the 4,471 in that bottom box, that would be amazing. Now, Claire, the third financial benefit is something called tax savings or potential tax deductions that we get through homeownership. Now, while homeownership can offer many benefits to the taxpayer, which can include the ability to write off and deduct interest paid to a specific amount of your mortgage, plus some property tax benefits in many cases. And so what I did, and what I'm going to do right now, Jolene, is just break real quickly, and I'm going to show you guys, because the number one question I get from anybody is, John, I don't see in the app as I'm calculating this what the total interest paid in year one is. So I'm going to, and now again, you should have prepared for this ahead of time. Right now on my piece of paper, on just how I've gone through, is I've already written down all my critical numbers that should be on this page. So Jillian, can you go to the next page where I can show them where to find this? So here's some of the scenarios that we're running as we go through the app, and actually the next page or next slide there, Jillian. So you're going to actually have to back out and go to the mortgage calculator for figuring out what your how much you've actually been paying towards principal reduction and your interest paid. So in this top box, we're trying to really accomplish, like, what is the total interest paid? So I'm going to go to the mortgage calculator app. I'm going to fill in my scenario again, which I did the 500,000 in there with that 6.5 interest rate. Do you see the highlighted section up above purchase price where it says amortization schedule in that slide? Now, it's kind of sneaky in the app because it doesn't underline, it doesn't change colors. You have to actually just click on that. And once I click on that, you'll see the next section over here to the right, which is that amortization schedule. And what I can do there is I can quickly see how much principal I've paid down out of each payment. And I can quickly see how much interest has been applied for those first 12 payments there. And so when I calculated all of those, the top box, sorry, Julie, if you can go back 2 slides. So I just wanted to navigate and show you how to find this stuff easily. So as you're preparing, so that top box, Claire, if you could just go ahead and fill in $26,000. Now that's the total interest that you've, or total monthly or annual interest that you've actually paid through paying for those 12 payments. And so $26,000 was your total interest paid in the first year. And Claire, as when we met before, just me knowing about you, you said that you were not married. And, you know, so in that situation, we find that your tax bracket in terms of you're not married and your monthly income, that you're in a 22% tax bracket. So I'd like you just to go ahead and fill in 22% in terms of your tax bracket there. And when we multiply the interest paid by your tax bracket of 22%, we're going to see that you have another tax savings box here to fill out of $5,691 in that bottom box. So Claire, when we take your annual appreciation and we add the principal that you paid, right, which was that 4,471, and then we add in that tax savings, right, of another 5,600, what we come up with is a total savings in just year one alone, Claire, of about $31,000, just over $31,000. Isn't that awesome?
Makes that interest rate not feel so bad.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And so you can see how that adds up going through in the last slide there. You can just see how those all add up. Now, here's what I would add in there is that I would also, if I know that Claire is a renter currently, right? Because I have the renter tag with Claire. I am going to now make sure that she understands the difference of homeownership versus now saving or earning up $30,000 versus her paying whatever her monthly payment was times 12 in that year for rent, right? Somebody said it earlier, the only difference between a renter and a homeowner is that one person is paying their own mortgage and the other person is paying someone else's, right? Questions around that page or that conversation of how wealth is really built in terms of, and why that difference between 5,000 and 230,000 for a homeowner versus renter. Andrew.
Thanks. Hey, I love this. Is there a way, because we're running this on the app, correct? Is there a way to get these pages out of the app, like as PDFs?
So what I would do personally is I would be using the app and I would be running that as more of like for me, right? Like that's my instructor version to get all the numbers. And then I really would just take them through that page, that one page, which is, in my opinion, a more simplified version.
The physical piece of paper.
Correct. Yeah,
I got you.
I would print off just that one Dream of Homeownership benefits page, which I think is page 4 out of our console. That's what I'm going to have them fill out. I am going to run through the app on my end to get all my data and my numbers
beforehand.
Correct.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
No, I appreciate
what I
that.
first did. Ben challenged me to do this exercise with my sphere. And so I called, like, my dad was an easy target. And so I called my dad and I ran through this. I made the critical mistake of not preparing. I tried to run through this on the fly and I ended up looking a little bit silly in front of my dad. Now, luckily it was my dad. So the best practice on this is run all the numbers, have all of the numbers ahead of time, run through this sheet, go through it in a script practice before you actually deliver it. Because there are a lot of numbers that could hang you up, and some math, and you're going to have to kind of navigate in some of those.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I apologize if I missed that first step when you said you run your numbers first. Thanks.
No, I'm glad we reiterated. It's that important.
John, thank you for walking us through this. And in fact, this is part of the Sphere certification that we will test out of presenting the 3 financial benefits of homeownership. John and I recorded this conversation professionally at the last Built House. So we had a camera crew. We'll make sure that that video goes out in the recap email so that you just have a quick hit of like re-listening to this in a professionally abbreviated recorded way so that you can conduct your own on video and then send that video recording to Crystal so that she can also stamp that part, or you're welcome to get on a Zoom with us, with one of us on our Calendly and present it to us as well. So there's a few different options there. Book on Calendly with one of the 3 of us, or send in your 3 benefits of homeownership video to Crystal. John, I did a buyer consultation yesterday and it was with someone that was a Sphere referral. So it was my Sphere, but they're an active client. And they had bought and sold 7 homes, currently did not own one. They're living here in Bellingham in a VRBO. They're looking to buy. And so when I sat down with them for coffee and we went through the buyer consultation, I said, would it be okay if I showed you something really neat? And I pulled up the Place Mortgage app and went through exactly what John demonstrated and showed in those slides. I said, look at how your net worth changes in just year 1 with that property, right? And I know you've bought and sold 7 homes. You may not have seen it presented in this way, but could I ask you, if you were to consider another option, what would it be like if this property that you purchased was maybe not your forever home, but you lived in it for 1 to 2 years? And then I helped you buy your forever home, or even just your next home. And each home that you buy, you're adding numbers like this to your net worth every single year. So we took that number, which I think was right around 60,000, that their net worth would be increasing in year 1. And we times that by 1 or 2 properties, right? And I said, have you ever got a $120,000 raise in 1 year? Have you ever put that much in your savings in 1 year? Now, I know right now you're looking for your forever home, but I wanted to present this to you as an option so that you knew what all your options were and I could help you achieve your goals. You know what they said back to me? They said, I really want to think about this. This changes things for us. Can we think about it and can we get back to you? Because we may consider that option. So I'm just grateful for our company's tools, and not only the tool and the technology being so fantastic, but the way that we present it is really key, isn't it? because we are the product as well. So these are the tools that we can present to our tags who are tagged renter and say, hey, would you be available to get coffee with me on Friday to talk about wealth building? Would you be interested in taking a wealth building course with me? It's for people of all income levels. And in fact, it's people who are also in debt, and it helps them work their way out of debt into having, you know, a net worth that they're proud of and that gives them a secure financial future. So all of these tools really help us build that, right? Next week, I just touched on technology. We're going to have a really special guest come onto the call next week. We're going to dive into some more technology in Brivity that helps us stay top of mind with our sphere, dive into a lot of the questions that you all have had within Brivity as well. You're going to have an expert there to help. So continue to send your questions, your struggles, your wins to the three of us so that we can build content in the last 2 weeks here based on what you need. It's super valuable. And John, how would you like to end the call today? And we'll take some questions.
Sorry, I was muted. So before questions, maybe we could just do a quick overview, Jolene, of kind of where we are, what's kind of due, or did you want to do that after some questions?
No, let's great. Let's just do a quick overview. So the Sphere certification standards, and we'll send this out again so you have it. Everything in yellow on this list will be audited by place. Everything else will be on the honor system. So we will trust your word that you said you've done it. So having the 200 people sourced as Sphere and Brivity, market reports on 100% of the local ones that have email addresses, a call made to everyone that has a phone number and is tagged local, and then sending in that video or doing it with one of us for the 3 financial benefits of home ownership, with John just demonstrated for us today, and we'll send you out the video tomorrow. And then just attending the calls. If you can't be on the call, you'll watch the recording and then take a quiz. From there, that would suffice as you having attended for the certification purposes. Jake, what's your question? Jake and team, you guys have a great crew there.
So these things are, this is our piece for to the end of the certification class, correct? So like this will be continuing to build and we're working on them each week.
Exactly. Yep. It's what we would want to have done by January 31st, ultimately.
Okay, cool. And then also, what I was just going to mention too is using that calculator. I'm going to do one here in a little bit, but it's such a good tool because if you guys have like an iPhone, you can actually record your screen and go through the calculator piece. And then you take that recording and use it. Like I like to think of Sphere 2 as being my social media, like an Instagram or something like that. And then you can take that screen recording and do a reel where you set it as the green screen and you talk on the topic. And you can check out my, I'm gonna do one here for our team page here, but it really cool opportunities to use that for social media and stuff like that as well. So.
I love that. That's great, actually, Jake. I'd love to see the video that you all do. I think that could be a summary of what we just went over in detail. You could easily do on your social and share it with people, or a teaser to get them interested so that they message you back. Yeah, I love that. Ashley.
Sorry, let me figure out how to unmute myself. So I just have a question on the for the all connections made, or sorry, a call made for all the connections through Brivity. So for me personally, like my Sphere, I've been in the business for going on 8 years, and my Sphere is like knows my number, my personal number. So I have a Brivity number. I log my calls into Brivity, but I mostly use my personal call when I'm calling my Sphere because it's my Sphere. They know me, they know who's calling them. Another thing is that I, like, for instance, this weekend I went to kind of a a women's connection thing that we do once a year, where we talked about wealth building. And it was a bunch of people who were in my sphere who were there. Can that count as like technically a call made? And can I just log them in my Brevity versus using the Brevity call log?
I think it probably depends, Ashley, and this is the honor system, right? What type of business do you want to build? Do you want to log a connection with them in Brevity because you had a great conversation and built rapport and shared what you do and what they, them share what they do? In that case, I would say, yeah, absolutely. But if it was just a quick high five in passing, maybe not. So whatever you deem integrity, because it's your database that you're building. For social media, if you, for instance, it's funny you say that because I had a women's event last weekend as well. And the really neat thing is I only had 27 women at my event, but what it allowed me to do is reach out to hundreds of women in the community. And I didn't have all their contact information. So I was hitting them up on social media like Seth, being proactive. And then I would go back into Brevity because I didn't yet have their contact information and log the social media contact under, there's that option, right? And we'll dive into this next week too. But I put that I had a social media contact. When you're calling from your cell phone to your sphere, which I do promote because your sphere likely have you in their cell phone, so then your name shows up on their screen when you're calling, right? The most important thing when you're doing that is that you still log the call in Brevity. Every single one of our real estate lives will be better if we log the call, even if we made it from our cell phones. So here's what that looks like, because for some reason this seems, it's a common thing. Ashley, you're not alone. So let's say I call from my cell and I just hit the call button. I'm not calling through Brevity on this button, but I just say talked. I leave a note and thanks Stacy for letting me play with your account. And then I save and log that call. Right? So that would suffice if you're calling from your cell phone. Did that help, Ashley? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I just want to make sure that that's okay if it's just not logged through Brevity. And I agree. No, it's not like a high five in passing. It's 10 women business owners that get together. There's 2 real estate agents and then salon owners and all local. And we've been friends for 10 years. And
Yes.
the real estate, my business partner has been my business partner, pretty much has handled all the real estate through this group. So it's a great connection, but they own businesses and we get to put our cards in their businesses and vice versa. So that's what I was wondering.
So there's 2 different options for that. And I think that's a great question. You could log it as an appointment if you're talking about real estate, but you could also go under other and then hit pop by. You could consider it more of a pop by and then put your notes in there about that connection and then hit save.
Perfect. That works.
Or you could do it as a note. It just won't log. The notes won't log as a connection made. So if you're doing a Brevity audit, it won't pick that up as having contacted them. So your best bet's going to be probably under this other category, which is where I'm logging like my social media outreach.
Okay, yeah.
Really good questions. Hey, it's 1 o'clock. If you're all welcome to stay on the call for questions. You don't need to stay on the call for the certification. So if you need to go run, do something, thank you for being here and being on this journey with us. If you have additional questions, I saw Andrea wave, thank you. Feel free to stay on the call with us and we'll stay on for a little bit longer. Thank you, Brandy. Appreciate you.
I heard we've put our Brevity phone number into our contact, and we were told that we have to reshare our contact with everybody in order for them to get that Brevity number in there. Do you have any validation to that?
If it's a little bit more of a technical question with the iPhone. If you've ever emailed them and your number shows up, that's why we also would suggest putting your Brevity number in your email address, because then it shows up as a ghosted out number in your contact record and it could say, hey, do you want to add this? So iPhone will pick that up depending on different forms of communication.
Okay.
I don't know about having to reshare the contact record for that to show up to them. For leads that I know that they say for a best practice is to add your Brivity number into your contact record.
Right.
For leads that do not have you already saved in there, because in iPhones, it'll say maybe this is so-and-so. So that's why you would save it in yours as a way for anybody that doesn't have it saved. But if they already have it saved, I'm not sure about the resharing it.
Yeah, we were trying to do that where you go into your actual contact about me, like on your phone, and updating with the Brivity. We always tell people we're emailing or texting from our work cell phone. Because when we do call nights and we use the Mojo dialer, if it's not in there, we come up as spam. So that was like our first indication. Then one of the team members said if we didn't reshare our full contact with them, then we still come up as spam. So we're just trying to figure out that right solution. But it's a great conversation piece when we're there, when I'm working through the sphere of, hey, I've updated my contact, can I reshare it with you? And you update my contact in your phone. Thank you.
Yeah, Eric. Oh,
hey there. Yeah, no, it's along those same lines. As I texted Brivity customer support about this today and still waiting on an answer, so I figured I'd throw it out here. Same thing, if I'm dialing from my Brivity number, there's times that I'll get like a 3-tone and an instant disconnect, which I'm assuming that means that they blocked my Brivity number, or it comes across as spam, so they automatically have taken it out, even though it's my SOI. And so if I call them from my cell number, it goes through. So, you know, I don't know if there's a way around that other than to have them add my work number to their contacts, but I need to get a hold of them first to do that. So that is probably the same issue that Malaya was just talking about.
Yeah. Crystal's making notes in the background to kind of follow up and maybe just double check with some support on that we can kind of maybe share for next week. If we can get an answer on that, but that's a harder one for us because it goes into so much about each carrier is going to be a little different, whether you're Verizon or AT&T or Sprint, and how their settings are. So it's such a varied kind of a problem that it might be hard for us to troubleshoot that one specifically. But here's the other thing I would say is that I've heard of some best practices is when you're selecting your Brivity number, or maybe you're wanting to get a new Brivity number, search the prefixes that are available and make sure it's as close to your city or town as possible. Those first 3 digits after the area code are usually an area locator. So if you look at and you have pages of Brivity numbers to choose from, if you can choose the prefix that's closest to your area, you're gonna have a better success rather than that showing up as a small little town. And I'm in Oregon, and I'm calling from Portland. So if my Brivity phone number shows up as like Eastern Oregon, it's typically people are gonna think it's spam. So keep a look at those prefix numbers too, those first 3 after your area code. Awesome. Claire, did you have a question? Sorry, I wasn't sure.
No, you're fine. I was just this sounds absolutely crazy, right? I am the queen of getting banned on Facebook. So I make sarcastic comments, they kick me off. So of course, this would be the month that they kicked me off for telling somebody I'd like pinch them. There is an app called Hit 'em Up. So if you guys are still trying to get emails or some information, Hit 'em Up is an app where you can text a whole bunch of people at once. I sent my Google form that way for their birthdays, and that's how I got a lot of information back. So that's just an app that's super helpful if for some reason you don't want to send one message at a time or try and reach out to each person at a time, even though, you know, like we can reach out to them singularly afterwards, but in order to get that information. So I just thought that might be a little bit helpful for somebody.
Is there a fee for that? Hit them up app?
No, it's free. I think there's probably a fee at a certain point, but I'm just doing like 10 at a time. So I'm not sending too many at a time. But I didn't see a fee on there yet. And I'm not going to threaten to pinch people anymore. So.
Yeah, who would have known, Claire, that you had that evil streak in you. All right, Cindy, then Tara, and then I have to hop off. So Cindy.
I have a quick question. I have heard a rumor that if you talk longer on your Brivity line, then it's less likely to come up as spam. So should like I be calling my mom like once a week and talking to her for an hour from my Brivity line? Because I can do that.
I haven't heard that, but yeah, always call your mom from your Brivity number, right?
I heard that it helps verify, in all seriousness, I heard that if you do things like that, call your kids, call your mom, call your girlfriend, whatever, it sort of verifies that the Brivity number is a real phone number.
Okay.
Somehow.
So
That's
there
what
you
I heard something like that too. Thanks.
go. All right.
I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, let us know how it goes and give us the update on mom too when you afterwards. Either Tara or Tara, sorry if I butchered that.
No, it's Tara. I just wanted to clarify about something that was said before. So the yellow things, or the yellow highlighted things were things that needed to be done. So it says a call connection for all local, but when it says call connection, that can be anything connection, whether it's face-to-face, social media, like any type of connection, not necessarily a phone call, right? Like if you're seeing them in person, then that counts. You're not gonna call them if you saw them in person, vice versa.
Yes, our preference would be if you have a phone number, make a call. But if you see them in person, we're really just making sure that there was a form of communication logged.
Okay.
There as a worst case, but our best practice would be the call. Hopefully we're seeing a lot of calls there. And if you just don't have that, then just remember you can log an other interaction for maybe a face-to-face or a social media direct message.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would say if you're running a filter, if Crystal's running a filter or somebody's running a filter in there that has phone number, it would be really nice to see call logged.
Right. Okay. And 100% has 100% of local have a market report, but obviously if you have local people that don't necessarily, you don't have them on a market report yet, or they haven't expressed interest when you've asked them, then that's not going to be a problem because yeah, you can't put them on one if you don't have the email, right?
Correct. We would be running a has email. Now, our goal would be to then say, oh, I have some missing data. How can I go get that data, right?
100%. Yeah.
So yeah, but we'll be looking for, depending on what information we have, we just want to make sure that 100% of what we could
right
put in is in there. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Great questions. All right. I have to hop off. Thanks for the 22 that stayed on with us. And we will see you guys next week. Have a good one.